So I just wanted to say that today's episode is sponsored by Asea redox signaling molecules. Now, it comes in two forms, the liquid and the gel, plus there's a huge other product range for us. But why did I start taking Asea, and why is it now an integral part of something that my whole family, both four-legged and two-legged, take every single day? Plus also something that all the clients I work with, again, four-legged and two-legged, it's number one on my priority list. Well, part of what I do, what I'm passionate about, is understanding the challenges that are affecting each and every one of us in today's modern living. The more you know, the more sometimes you wish you didn't know, but the pollution in the air, in the water, in the food, the control of our minds, the propaganda. But one of the things that we can do is take back responsibility for our own health. Now, every single cell of our body, whether we're an animal, whether we're one of the dogs in the backgrounds or one of my plants, contain these redox signaling molecules, and cellular health and cellular communication is absolutely key, whether you want to get your body back in balance, whether you want to reverse the aging process, whether you want to address any particular challenges that you've got physically, emotionally. It all starts with healthy cells. If your liver cells are healthy, your liver's healthy. If your brain cells are healthy, your brain's healthy. But just like a mobile phone, most of us have got mobile phones that we use on a routine basis now, but that mobile phone, regardless of whether you've got the latest model, is completely useless without a signal. So what does this technology do? The gel is something that you can apply topically over particular areas of concern, whether you want your skin to look better, whether you've got a cellulite, whether you've got an area that's causing you a challenge. The liquid is something you drink each and every day to top up what should be in your cells anyway. But when our bodies are stressed, diseased, challenged, or as we age, we make less of them. So personally, I wouldn't be without it. My sleep's better, my energy levels are better, my mood's better, my mobility's better. If you want to find out more, the details are below. But I'm so grateful that this came into my life, and I'm so grateful I can share it with others. I hope you love it as much as I do. Let me know. I am delighted to be here again with my friend and work colleague, Danielle Matthews, and we are going to talk about something that's really close to our heart at the moment, because we see it so many times and we see it causing so many issues for people in all walks of life. And this is basically mastering the art of action and looking at why knowledge without action is just information, the impacts that can have on your life, and more importantly, what you can do about it. So first and foremost, Danielle, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's good to see you. Glad to be back here, Catherine.
Yeah, and it's sunny here as well, so we're imitating your So, but you and I have been talking about this quite a lot, because it's a really, really big issue and quite a tricky one for people to grasp that knowledge, because it's wonderful how many people take on board now continuous learning, staying curious, and absorbing a lot of knowledge, but it can be very easy to be stuck in that knowledge loop without moving forward into action.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is, Danielle?
Well, I think the issue is that our habits get in our way. But I just want to ask, have any of you ever gone to a seminar and you've written tons of notes, and then you go home and that notebook, you're like, you don't even know where it is anymore. Or you've read a book and maybe you highlighted and wrote things down and then closed the book, and now it's just like shelf help, right? It's sitting on a shelf somewhere. It could be really helpful if you picked it up, but you just, for whatever reason, you don't pick it up. Catherine, I have been coaching people for the last 8 years, and getting people to do things that they're not in the habit of doing is difficult. And it's, I call it the knowing doing gap. You know what you're supposed to do. And there's a quote by Thomas Edison. He says, if we all did the things we were really capable of doing, we would astonish ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's so true. Like, we have the capacity as human beings to do so much, but you get to the end of your day and you're like, well, why didn't I do that one thing? Why did I avoid doing it? And I think this in lies, like, this is just an interesting piece of human nature. And to me, it has to do with the blocks in our brain, like the way I learned about them originally, they were called paradigms, like these thought patterns that exist within us, that are just habitually created. And when we have them, it's like the person that is overweight, that wants to lose weight, that knows they need to lose weight, and yet for some reason keeps making the choice to eat things that are not going to help them lose weight. Or I see it in my business, like, you know, someone that's in sales, like there's a proven system. Look at any successful salesperson, they'll say, yeah, this is the system I use. And then you've got dozens of people, hundreds, thousands, I mean, so many people that just complain about not getting sales, but then don't do the system that the ones that are winning are doing. And it just makes you scratch your head. It used to drive me nuts because I'm like, hey, I've told you what to do. Like, you know, why aren't you doing it? But the human mind it's a crazy place.
And we see that play out. It's so true. And we're laughing because we can all recognize, I'm sure we can all recognize times when we've done this. So when Danielle and I are talking about this, we are absolutely not saying we're perfect at this, but it's something we're very, very aware of. And you see it play out on sort of the micro level in people's lives, but most importantly on the macro level. So you and I talk a lot about health and wellness and the importance of keeping our physical vessel in balance and how much that can impact all our decision making. But the trouble is, there is something very strange about humans, which we don't necessarily see in other species, where sometimes we wait for a crisis to happen before it can kickstart us into action. What's your experience of that, Danielle?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, you know, our ego mind exists to keep this body like safe. Okay. And thinking about death or the decay of the body is not something the mind wants to let us think about, because it's a fearful thing, because the ego only exists if this being exists. And so it stops us from really having those thoughts. And this directly impacts your health and the decisions you're making, because you think, like when we were young, we think, you know, we're invincible. Like we don't think about death as something that's going to occur. We don't worry about, you know, things that are happening in the body. And a lot of us are really actually kind of disconnected from the sensations and feelings and what our body is actually trying to communicate with us. And I think that, you know, for me, I had the experience at 23 of losing my health. And I'm so grateful, because having lost my health at that age, I now know the value of it, and I don't take it for granted. And I think about daily, what are the things I'm putting in through the water I'm drinking, the food that I'm eating? And this goes beyond the information I'm taking in, the people I'm hanging around. Like all of that is energy that has to be digested by our systems. And you really need to be cognizant of it. And for whatever reason, you know, until there's a wake-up call, until there's a crisis, so many people aren't aware. But I think the reason we wanted to have this conversation was to help everybody see, like, you don't have to wait. You know, look at someone else's situation. There's a woman, she's my age, she's 34, top of the network marketing profession. She was just diagnosed with colon cancer, metastatic. It's gone into her lymph nodes. I mean, they told her you'll be gone by November. And it's so interesting because she said she you know, has an entire organization of people, and she goes, it was about a month in, she goes, I don't understand how you all could watch this shift in my health, for me to go from the healthiest I've ever been to getting this type of diagnosis, and you all haven't changed your habits. You all are still eating terrible things. You're still digesting terrible news. You're still doing all of these things. Please use me as a wake-up call so you don't have to have your own. And I would say, guys, if you're listening, like just step back and go, what am I doing? And am I making the healthy choices? Am I actually doing the things I know I need to do? Or am I still grabbing for the easy stuff?
It's so important. I was just bringing out one of my quotes that I have for this, which is Zig Ziglar. And you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And applying this to any aspect of your life. We've seen so many people, particularly people that watch my channel, they're really curious. They're really good at asking questions. They're really good at absorbing knowledge. They've been to every Bruce Lipton lecture, read every Joe Dispenza book, done the meditations, been to the yoga retreats, and you name it. But sometimes, even though, as you say, it's carrying those things forward into your daily life, which are going to make all the difference. And it can be pretty devastating if we don't get out of that sort of knowledge loop, can't it? It can have really serious impacts on people's lives and their self-value and self-worth.
Oh, for sure. And I think, you know, if I could make a recommendation, it's like, if you're going to go listen to a Bruce Lipton event, walk away with one action step. Like go through all of your notes again, maybe on the flight home, or set some time, like intentionally set time to integrate, and then highlight the one thing, because if you just started to shift one thing, you're going to make a difference. And the next time you go, maybe you can shift another thing, or you can come back to your notes if you can't go to another event, but pick one. And that's what I tell everybody. Look, if you're going to go to a big event, pick one thing to make the action step of. And the other thing I would say, if you want to actually go into it intentionally, is think about the biggest challenge in your life right now. What's the number one thing that is not working for you? It's not playing out the way that you want it to be, etc. And then go into the event seeking the answer to that. And just listen to every speaker, listen to everything that's said with the intent is, how is this going to help me with X? And someone is going to say the exact right thing. When you're intentional, this is just how the universe works, right? It provides what's needed to you. And it might be from somebody you meet in the hallway. That's happened to me before at events.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. It's such good advice. We're really hoping that, anyone watching this can let us know what their challenges are. So if necessary, we can follow up with this, answering some of those questions. But like you, I've been working with people, sort of coaching them in various forms for well over 20 years now, in all sorts of different roles, some on the business role, some on the health wellness role. And it's the biggest issue that I find is that sometimes people can, very often actually, people can get stuck in being really good at explaining and justifying their limitations. So we can be very good as humans in explaining very much, and almost like you can tell when people are talking about it that the person they're really trying to convince is themselves as to why they're not going to do it. Now, we all talk about energy a lot, and about, the energy can't be created or destroyed. It can just be transmuted. And I think when you look at it into information like that, I find it quite helpful to look at how you can then look at transmuting the information, the knowledge that you've acquired, into the next action step. Do you do that at all?
Yeah, I think that's profound. And I just want to talk about, there's an image that came to my mind when you were speaking. They're the great ones, right? You can visualize it as scaling mountains. And I used to live out in Colorado. And before you got to the Rockies, which are huge, we're talking, 14,000 feet, you had the foothills. Yeah. And I think so often there are people just putzing around in the foothills, like pretending like, oh yeah, I'm going to go climb a mountain. But they don't actually go take the leap, get into the action, go up the mountain. And I think it's because at some point they tried to, and it was hard. And they didn't have the skill set they needed. And the challenge was too steep, and the skill set wasn't there. And so you get into anxiety, you get into fear. And when that happens, most people pull back into their comfort zone. What you need to do instead is increase your skill set, right? If you were to increase your skill set, all of a sudden now you're going to move out of anxiety, and you're going to start moving into what's called the flow state. The flow state is found when you've got challenge and you've got a skill that can meet it. And I think then you would realize the great ones, they're just persistent. They just meet the challenge and go, well, what do I need to learn in order to overcome this challenge? And for me, that's the transmutation of the energy. It's going, whoa, now I've hit something, I've hit a block. Sometimes the challenge is within, quite frankly, that's what's going on. And I'm thinking about a client I was working with in yoga therapy. We were doing a session, and it became very clear the communication that her body was having with her was that when she was 14 years old, her dad died of a heart attack suddenly. And her mom, as part of the kind of coping for their household, she didn't want to sit down at the dinner table, almost as like it acknowledged that his presence was missing. And so all of a sudden, from the age of 14, they stopped sitting down for meals. And her whole family, it was just kind of this grab and go. Well, she's in her 60s. And she has the same habits, and she's had them for like the last 50 years. And what we came through in this session was her body, and she's a very swollen belly, a lot of inflammation, a lot of extra weight in this area. And we realized, oh my gosh, this is because of decades and decades of this habit. But now that she's realized it, it's like, well, it's a simple fix. What's the skill I need to add? I need to plan my meals. I need to sit down. And the body is always communicating with us. And I think if you know the challenge, ask for help. There are some specialists that can help you get the skill set you need so you can, move through it, and just use that energy then to propel you, because rather than being scared, It's same like fear, you can turn into faith that you're gonna get through.
Yeah, I had a really amazing chat with Jim Gale yesterday on my channel on permaculture and food forests. And one of the things that he said, now I can't remember who the quote was from, but you know, the world's problems may seem increasingly complex and desperate, but the solutions are incredibly simple. And anyone who's struggling and caught in that knowledge loop, one, I would personally say, you know, be proud, because that knowledge won't go unwasted unless you don't take some steps. So one of the things that we spoke about a few weeks ago, which really resonated with me, Danielle, you were talking about one of the coaches that you'd heard speaking about the left foot, right foot. And this to me was perfect. So can you talk us through that analogy?
Yes, this visual always is what kicks me. So this coach of mine, his name's Fraser Brooks, he's from the UK. And he says, look, if you are learning, right, reading the book, going to the seminar, listening to him, whatever it is, listening to this right now, you're stepping forward with your right foot. And he says, if you keep learning and keep doing that and you keep stepping with your right foot, what happens? Like you go in a circle. And he says, if you don't actually take action and step forward with the left foot, you're never going to go anywhere. So if you just right foot, round and round you go, it's got to be right, left. And so what he says is for every hour that you spend reading, training, being at a seminar, listening to something like this, you spend an equal amount of time stepping forward with the other foot. And so you do an hour of action. You do an hour of applying what you just learned. And think about it like if you're on a kayak, like, you know, or canoe, and you're just stroking with one side the whole time, you go in a circle. You've got to go right, left. And that's what's going to actually move you forward. And so forever and always, that image is like imprinted in my mind. Whenever I'm learning something, I say, okay, what's the one piece that I'm going to go put into action? Literally like right now.
Absolutely perfect. I when you were explaining to me like that, it just hit home so clearly, and I think most of us can resonate with that. And when we're being honest with ourselves, which is really, really important, is we can recognize when we're overdoing, because some people can actually overdo the action and not take the time to acquire knowledge, which is a different issue, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very different issue. So it's interesting. I think it's one of those people that they just go. And when they never stop, it's the same problem. They're going left foot. And it's like, no, you're also going to go into circles. Like the whole point is to take action, then reflect on what can I learn from the action I take. Now, do I need a new skill? Go get the skill, go apply the skill. Okay, now where's my hiccup? Go get the skill, apply the skill. Like this is life. You know, this is the learning journey that our soul is on. And this applies to business in a big way, but it also applies to just everyday living. And
really,
you know, yeah,
you know, whether it's what you're going to have, what your habits are when you get up in the morning, you know, we can all read the books and we can know what we should be doing, but there's a big difference between should and are. And I think there's so many people that have spent a lot of time over the last few years, some for decades, really understanding at a great depth what all the challenges are that are facing them on an individual level, us as a society level, and at a species level, and then at a planet level. And it's really good to understand that, because if you don't understand the challenges that you're being faced with, it's really difficult to look for the right solutions. But that can really easily turn into overwhelm. And when it gets into overwhelm, it can get even more difficult. So I love what you said right at the start about just pick one thing to start. I had a mutual friend of ours, Damala, introduced me to Angelica Allen, a stage 4 cancer thriver. And she's a really great expert about implementing new habits in the life, because she's had to do them. She reached a stage where she had no choice. It was die or do, you know. And we can say these sayings, do or die, in a very glib thing. But when you're actually faced with it, when it really is the other way around, it's die or do, that is a kick up the backside. We don't want to wait to that. So, you know, when anyone's watching this, if you're noticing yourself caught in that knowledge, whether it's intel, whether it's self-improvement, self-development, spiritual knowledge, if we don't apply it, then you're not going to integrate it. It's not going to change your life in any shape or form. Talk me through an example that you've had, either business or personally related, where this has been really transformed and moved things forward for you?
Well, I think, there's there are so many people that I've coached, and examples like the woman I said, but I'll talk about myself. I was having a lot of challenges with what to do with after my car accident. So about a year in, I was in a situation where I felt like I couldn't do anything. And, I needed to change the habits. Like the Danielle that existed was not serving the current Danielle. Does this make sense? So maybe there's been a change in your life. And it's like, okay, I have to pivot who I am. I have to create something new. Or maybe you're trying to start business. You need to shift and change and do a different habit. So here I am. All I can think about is how I used to be able to spend my time. I used to work out every single day, and all of a sudden I found myself in a situation where I was completely unable to get my blood pressure like higher than like the resting state, or my heart rate, higher than the resting state. And so I really had to go, okay, well, what is a new habit? What is something that I can do that's going to move my physical body, is going to get me the same thing that working out used to get me, but that is something that's new. And so for me, it was literally walking on a treadmill at 0.5 miles per hour. Okay, walking outside it was cold where I was living is not really an option. Icy, not good. So I literally had to go, and it was like my brain would be so angry. Like I would be on this treadmill, literally, like it was like a snail's pace. And, my mind is telling, go faster, Danielle, you can do it. Just push, like all of these things of the old driven, go, 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 go person. And it was I had to master my own thought processes. I had to literally recreate, who Danielle is now. What are the productive things that I can do now for myself? The food that I would eat. I wasn't able to eat gluten. I was not supposed to eat much sugar. I had to eat a ton of protein. And my mind would constantly tell me, no, just go for that, go for that, go for that, go for the other thing, eat a piece of pizza. Right. And every time, if I slipped and I let myself, it was terrible. I mean, I had like this immediate feedback loop, and that's what was nice for me, is that I had the immediate feedback loop of I felt terrible. I had a migraine come on, whatever it might be. Or if I pushed myself in a workout, the next day I'd be in bed the whole day.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting time for me to see, like, look, sometimes our mind is not telling us helpful things. Sometimes it's telling us habitual things. And we need to, based on new information, based on new circumstances, we need to shift and we need to change it. And it takes persistence. I think the one thing that I have seen be the difference maker from team members that have been able to build big businesses, from people that have been able to get out of difficult health issues, it's the persistence, battling their own mind with continuing to push through, doing the thing that they know they need to do, and then putting it into action every day, right? That is the game changer. And you don't have to be incredibly intelligent to do that. There is nothing besides the element of persistence that makes the difference.
I love it. And consistency is absolutely key. Most people watching this will have a fairly good understanding of what it takes to form new habits. And the secret is, it's like any sort of thing in life that you want to change. Once you've realized and you've made that connection and you've acknowledged it, that's a really big step, because then you're moving forward with a conscious awareness of how you're living out, what choices you're making. And I think, we keep coming back, but I keep coming back to the fifth agreement, the four agreements by Danielle Ruiz. And be impeccable with your word is the first one of the four ingredients. And when you're impeccable with your word, if you've decided that you want to change, if you're learning about meditation and you spent years studying about meditation but you're not meditating, that's why it's called the practice of meditation, because you practice, and the more you practice it, the better you get at it. Be impeccable with your word to yourself. Because if you can't be impeccable with your word to yourself, there's no chance that you will live it with other people.
It's so true. That's what I had to do with my own mind is, hey, those words that are happening in my head right now, they're telling me to just go for a run, to just go eat that, to just, have that snack. That is not helpful wording. And so often it's like wild. Sometimes if you stated what you said inside of your own head out loud, like, you wouldn't let anybody speak to you the way that you speak to yourself. So be impeccable with your word and the words running in here. it's huge. Those mantras that are being chanted in our own minds, like the way that we think about ourselves and interact and look at things, just be very conscious of it. I couldn't agree, more with you, Catherine. And I do think there's also a degree of, it can be really difficult yourself to make a change. I think sometimes it's really helpful to get around other people that also have a growth mindset, that also are looking to shift and change. Because what I found is that my friend group started to drop away. All of a sudden, as I started to work on myself more, I didn't resonate in the same space. I saw them making choices that I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, you're limiting yourselves, and their thought patterns were not helpful. And, the people you surround yourself with, you start to get in that same energy space. And so I had people dropping away from me, which was hard at the beginning, but then I found people like yourself, like our friend Nirmala that we talked about, like all of the people that I work with within Asea. That's part of the reason I have loved it so much. Is it's this beautiful community of people that are aware enough that they have issues, and they're looking to shift them, to change them, to become more. And they're asking other people to help hold them accountable to doing that. And I think, we're meant to support one another. We are, community-oriented creatures. And this is something where we can lift people. I think the Pygmalion effect is very, very, very real, where if we hold a higher expectation of someone, we'll lift them to that. And you need a coach sometimes. You need a mentor. You need accountability partners that are helping you do that.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I can honestly say this isn't a video about SEA or multi-level marketing or social sharing. This is a video about why we get stuck in the not taking action, and therefore why we don't see the changes in whatever area of life it is that you're looking for. Because everyone has got something they want to change, every single person watching this. And the beauty is it is possible. And when you surround yourself, it's so important. Everyone's heard the saying that, you become the person that like the 10 people you surround yourself with. And it's so, so true. And I've become very, very aware over the last year. I've known this for a long while, but the last year it's been more obvious than ever in terms of who do I interact with that I feel that we're lifting each other up. And of course, there can be some give and take. Sometimes it's more one-sided, but then it can swing in the other side. But it's so important to surround yourself with people that are actually proactively making changes in their life for the better, that are then having knock-on effects on the wider community. Because yes, I think it is quite important to sometimes go through that stage of knowing what you don't want. And ideally, whilst you've still got a choice in that before it's taken away from you. But whether you've reached that stage or whether it's a conscious awareness, once you know what you don't want, don't stay there. Don't stay there. Take some step, left, right, to actually transition yourself away from that.
Exactly. And if you're feeling stuck, like I have some people that a spouse is not supportive of this shift, this awakening they're having, this desire to change, because that makes the spouse uncomfortable, or a friend group or parents or even kids. And I would say, if you're feeling like, well, I'm trapped in the situation I'm in, like I can't go take a step away from it, like my whole life would fall away. Look, take a gentle step forward. And if you need to surround yourself with people that aren't that, listen to Catherine's show, connect with people online that are sharing these ideas. Go read a book. For me, one of the other things I started to do was reading. I just would read because I wanted to be around people that thought differently, that had kind of cracked the code. I really got into a lot of yogic philosophy because I thought, well, what do these yogis know that set them free in life? And what are these secrets that are just waiting in these texts for us? And so I would say, look, don't let your mind tell you it's impossible or you can't or you're stuck in your situation. No, read and go, well, how can I apply this? Because the truth is it's your inner world. Like the external world, most of the time, is a reflection of what's inside of you. And as you start, the action step is usually applying something that is in your inner world. It's within you. And as you start to shift and change, people will shift and change around you. I mean, just wait, it's pretty remarkable.
I love it. And this is one of the reasons why we love our dogs so much, because they really, if you've got an animal or a dependent in your life, it sometimes can be much easier to do it for someone else than it can yourself. But whatever your why is, just, I know we'll sort of wrap this up in a minute because we've covered quite a lot, I think, for people already to sort of ponder over and let us know what you think. But how important do you think, really, two questions. How important do you think understanding your purpose is to being able to take inspired action? And I've forgotten the other questions whilst you're answering that.
All right, I'll do this one. Well, here's what I think. I think when you have a vision, when you know what you want to do, it will pull you. When you know that and you have that like you don't need motivation. Like there is something intrinsic within you, this burning desire that you will feel that will literally pull you through the hard times. And knowing the system you're going to use to get there, what it is that you need to do, and then committing to persistent action on that system every single day makes a difference. But if you don't have that purpose, if you don't have that vision, if you don't know why you're moving in the direction you're moving, you won't move. That's a lot of times, I think, why people don't do anything with the knowledge they get. They're like, oh, that's nice. How does it apply to me? Well, that's if you go in with, what do I need? If you know what your purpose is, like all of a sudden you're, oh, that's the skill I needed here. This is what I needed. Now I can apply it. You will be this, like, I mean, all I can describe it as like this burning in your soul just keeps propelling you forward. And so the persistence piece becomes easy because it's like your heart's desire. And I was just reading something and it said, you know, you should give your life to what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's a heavy statement, but it's like you're already giving your life to what you're doing now. You're giving it away to what you're doing now. So why not go all in on giving your life away to creating this purpose, creating this vision you have for yourself?
Oh, I'm so with you on that. I really am. And we've all got different drivers, which will change at different stages in your life. And that's absolutely great. The other thing that I just wanted to finish off with is, you mentioned it a bit earlier, is so many of us have lost touch with what it really feels like to be healthy, what it really feels like to be on purpose, tuning in with yourself. It's such a cliche, but it's so, so important. Have you got any tips about how people can start to do that?
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, it's like, just pay attention to your body. Like if you need, if meditation is hard for you, I would suggest a guided meditation. Yoga Nidra is great to help, you know, just create this space in time. And if you just sit and you breathe, pay attention to your breath and just notice like maybe where an ache or pain is in your body, and just ask, what are you wanting to tell me? And it is amazing. Like we hold emotions in our body, and your body, through its only language to speak is through sensation. So if you allow it the time to speak to you, if you give it a chance and go, okay, like, why is my back left hip like always bothering me? That's what it was for me for a long time. Finally started listening to it. Okay. And it was super interesting. Like the speaking that comes when your mind is quiet, guys, the subconscious, like you can access things, and it might sound crazy, but do it. And you'll see like, whoa, she's right. And there's so much Eastern and Western, you know, philosophies and studies on this, that the body is literally, the language is discomfort, it's pain, it's trying to yell at you to say, pay attention to this. And a lot of times that can help you see, what are your limiting mindsets? What are the things that are keeping you stuck? And once you listen, you release it. And it's that simple. Like, you don't have to talk through it. It's just like, oh, I had to acknowledge it, and now I know.
Oh, this is so perfect. I can't wait. I love the way you pull everything together, Danielle, because next week, I don't know if you know Yvette Rose, who just really talks about the emotional links to diseases. I'm seeing if I've got her book.
Oh, yeah.
We're having a conversation next week, pulling this all in, because all of this is connecting the dots, which comes back again. I just want to leave everyone with that left foot, right foot, or right foot, left foot, wherever you're stuck. Keep the balance going, because you'll take on this additional bit of knowledge, and then you'll ask the questions, and always asking, how can I, what is my body telling me, what is the message here, and just banish that can't word from your vocabulary. So it's so helpful, Danielle, always so helpful. Any final words you want to leave anyone with?
No, I can't wait to listen to this interview you're going to do. I just started reading a book called Body Mind, and it's fascinating. It's all about this connection between the physical body and like the Western world, like Rolfing and all this information on it, and Tai Chi and yogis. And it's incredible what's sitting, like the body's the book of secrets. It's all right here. Everything you need is inside of you. So That's just the thought I'll leave everybody with.
Oh, absolutely love it. Let us know below if you've got any questions or you want any more on this. Please let us know. Now, for all of you that want to connect with Danielle, Danielle's website has got a wealth of resources on it. So I will put all Danielle's links below, and you all know if you want to work with Danielle and I in any capacity, the links for that are below as well. Thank you so much. Thanks, Danielle. We'll be back again.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. My goal is to inspire as many people as I can to live their best lives, to stay curious and to raise their consciousness and that of the collective. So to do this, I need to reach as many people as possible, and this needs your help. If you feel drawn, would you be willing to share your favourite episode with 5 different people? This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. If you feel drawn to do that, I will be very, very grateful. All the links and discount codes where applicable for all the products that I support are on my 2 websites, catherineedwards.life and catherineedwardsacademy.com. All of the products are personally tried and tested by me, my family, and my clients. And finally, please do press the follow or subscribe button, depending which platform you're listening on. And above all, stay curious and stay free.